You're listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, my good friend and co-host Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
That,
We have a lot to cover this episode, so maybe we'll skip the usual bullshit and just get right to it. What do you think?
let's not sideline. Let's get right into it. No time to die. Let's jump right
No
in.
time to die. No time to talk.
Yes, no
No
time to
time to die.
banter. We must talk
No time
about
to banter.
dying and Bond and stuff.
And not having time. Oh, yes. Okay, so we finally got to see No Time to Die, and we finally got to see Shang-Chi as
Yes.
well. I'm just going to call it that because that's not really what you call it. But
No.
So we should talk about those things, and then there's some Disney Plus announcements, new Marvel shows, and some footage from those.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff.
Got some stuff.
But you want to do Bond first, or do you want to do?
Let's
Disney first?
now let's go into Bond, and let's just say right now,
Okay.
massive spoilers. We're going to completely spoil it. If you haven't already seen it, which I'm guessing if you're a huge Bond fan, you went right away and saw it, or rented it the day it was available. So
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna spoil it. But yeah, we waited till it was available at home, and
yes,
and 2 years later, when it was supposed to come out like almost 2 years ago at this point, right?
pretty
So,
much. Yep.
Yeah, but I think it was worth it. I think it was a fitting conclusion to Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond, and I think some people were complaining that they're still wrapping up threads from like 10 years ago. I'm like, that was okay.
Yeah.
There was some things I didn't love. I don't think it's my favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie, but I would say that it's extremely well done. I think Cary Joji Funkunawa did a great job directing. Daniel Craig, I don't think has acted better in a Bond film. I think his acting in this was excellent.
Agreed.
Yeah, and everybody was good. I didn't love Rami Malek though, but we can get into that in a minute. So, but you should jump in because I know you were excited about this, so you should talk about it. I'll stop talking.
I loved it, and I think something that helped me going into it was I had watched all the previous Daniel Craig movies leading up to the theater release because I intended to see it in the theater and didn't for various reasons. But as a whole, as like the ending of a 5-movie story, it's just fantastic. And I'm I don't know if it's ecstatic is the right word, but I'm very happy that they didn't do the typical Bond thing where it's like, cosmic reset each movie, even though you have the same actor they had. And, we got to see Bond from the beginning of his career through to the end of his career, literally. And I just thought it was great. And there was a lot of nod backs to, the previous movies, even some of the before Daniel Craig movies, which I thought was a nice touch. And it just wrapped up the story great. Definitely in a very final way, which was surprising. For sure. I mean, it definitely did. It ended like no other Bond movie ever, which was intriguing. So,
well, yeah, it definitely did because you don't necessarily expect that.
Yeah.
Because but then of course the coda James Bond will return. So
yeah, that's always there, and it was here.
That's always there, and it was here on this one too. I mean, they're not gonna stop
No.
making James Bond films no matter what. I mean, they'll be making James Bond films long after you and I are gone. But I like I said, I loved almost everything about it. I love the callbacks to other Daniel Craig Bond films, and the callbacks to like Spy Who Loved Me for sure was a big influence. That the director and the writers and everything definitely went back and probably are huge fans of Bond in general. But there was a lot of good references. Like I said, Daniel Craig I thought was excellent. He finally got to do something. Like Bond is this like stoic sort of killer womanizer, half monk, half hitman, as he said to M in the first movie. But he kind of humanizes him. He got human this time.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm gonna guess that a lot of that was Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but because there was like, oh, Bond is actually not just a robotic killing machine
right.
who likes to sex up the ladies and move on. And apparently that whole thing about his junk not working, not true. So that's good.
Oh yeah, good. It
seemed to work. Fine.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
No big spoilers, but he still can perform apparently. But I'm just saying.
So your whole theory about
it wasn't my
torture is patently untrue. I was
the whole theory. Yeah,
I was pleased to see that. I'm like, yep, they're wrong because apparently
they were wrong.
His
junk did not get destroyed by Le Chiffre.
He's not firing with blanks.
or there's nothing down there. It's just like a blank Ken doll kind of thing. But He's fine. He's perfectly fine.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what it looks like now. Probably nothing. But anyway, sorry, that was too much.
Yes.
But yeah, it was. I would say that two things maybe stood out for me. One, I was hoping for like the big Blofeld kind of giant lair thing, like at the end of all cool Bond movies. They have the big back. I think the lair was sort of disappointing. It wasn't as big and gigantic. I just remember Spy Who Loved Me with a giant submarine pen,
Right,
and guys
right.
like rappelling from the ceiling and shit. I wanted to see that kind of thing. I didn't see as much of that, although you did get to see Lashana Lynch rappel into the
Yeah, I was going
into
to
the
say you
room
kind of got that. I mean, come on.
and steal the guy and take
Yeah,
off. That was cool.
yeah.
But I didn't. I was sort of underwhelmed by the lair, and Rami Malek's kind of like, he was creepy as fuck. First of all,
Yeah.
at the beginning, especially, that was a really interesting opening for a Bond film. I'm just going to waltz in and kill some people.
Yeah.
But then he does what he does with Léa Seydoux' character when she's a girl, and then it's like, I don't know, he wasn't as big a threat. I still felt Blofeld was a better villain, if that makes sense. I thought Christoph Waltz has a more compelling presence
Yes.
maybe than
Yeah.
Rami Malek. But then he just gets killed so easily. It's like, oh, he's done. Cap a few rounds in him, it's over. But I don't think that was the point. I don't think the point of it was Bond overcoming Rami Malek. It was Bond overcoming Bond.
It was a
and
personal story. Yeah.
Right. Finally making a big sacrifice, putting others before himself. He's not a selfish prick like what's her face always thought he was.
M.
Gosh darn. Well, M, but also Vesper.
Oh, yes. Yes.
How she sizes him up in Casino Royale. It's like, probably an orphan. You don't care about anybody.
Right.
You're maladjusted former SAS types, whatever her speech is. But it's like, exactly. But he's finally a human. He finally sacrifices himself for the greater good, as they say.
Yes.
So that was what was great about it. But yeah, I mean, whatever. And it's not about Rami Malek's character. It definitely is a personal journey for Bond and for Daniel Craig too. But I'm glad we got to see it. I'm glad it got to end. I'm sure a lot of that was his input. Like, I want this to be the final one.
I wanted to be no ambiguity that I might
There's
come
no
back.
ambiguity. Yeah, I will not be coming back, just so you know.
I don't want to be Roger Moore and be way too old for it and still coming back,
Or Sean Connery
Right.
for one more Bond movie. Although, I mean, I like that movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think Sean Connery. I mean, I'll always love Sean Connery, even though some of his personal stuff was questionable. But
You should smack a woman. It's like, wait, what?
smack a woman occasionally.
What?
Wait, what? Yeah, the way your mother likes it, Alex. So, but yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. I wish, like Dune, I wish I could have seen it on a big screen, and I think I will at some point, because there's definitely some really good action set pieces that they kind of deserve to be on the big screen. But I love the gadgets. I love the whole thing, and the whole cast is like sitting there. Come on, 007, get get your shit together. Yeah, it was just good. So I don't know. Is there anything you didn't like about it?
Not really. I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion. I thought it was a really smartly written script. Acted extremely well, like you said, especially Daniel Craig. I mean, he was just amazing. I mean, he pulled off, like, as any great actor does, just some of the things that he didn't say, and you could see in his face were just like, holy crap, that was just stunning acting.
The thing that struck me too is he seems like he's having fun.
Yes, exactly.
Daniel Craig is actually having fun too,
Yeah.
because before, I don't know if he was ever really enjoying himself as much. Maybe he was in the first one. I don't know, but he definitely seemed like he was having fun. But we shouldn't go any farther without mentioning the standout in the entire film, though. The big amazing supporting character who I think almost steals the movie away completely, which is Anna.
Thankfully, her character lived and could show up again,
Right.
which is
Let's hope.
Maybe
she'll be the next Bond.
I still think they should continue. It should have been in 007 will return, and it should be Lashana Lynch playing 007, and she's got what's her name's character could be her Felix Leiter. I mean, come on, jeez.
That's a good point. Actually, I like that, because Ana de Armas' character of it is a CIA
Yes.
officer. So she can show up. Well, she's the new Felix Leiter, and then, but I think she just did it because Daniel Craig was making Knives Out with her, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this Bond movie one more time.
You should come. Yeah,
That's a
you should come hang out.
that's a terrible. That's a terrible Daniel Craig impression, but yes, I'm sure it was as simple as that. You should just come and hang out for a couple weeks and whatever. But yeah, she was terrific, and there's definitely layers to her character that aren't really explored because she's much more competent than she appears.
Well, and speaking of Felix Leiter, Jeffrey Wright was fantastic as always, and I was shocked that they, although it seems like in previous Bond movies they found ways to end him, like what was in one of the movies he got like half eaten by a shark and stuff like that, tortured and all that. But I
think Felix Leiter is also a name that people just use as a secret agent. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like James Bond, it's not the actual person; it's just their name. So
Jimmy Bond.
But
I think you're right though. I think it'd be nice if they brought back Lashana Lynch as 007.
Yeah.
But she even made a point of saying, you should take the number back. It's like, it's just a number, but it's not.
I'll be honest. I actually got choked up for a second when she said, "Sir, permission to transfer 007 to Bond." I was like, "Aw," that was like, wow. That was, I don't know why that choked me up, and maybe that's ridiculous, but it was. I thought it was a good scene.
Let the white guy have it. Sorry.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
That's not what that was. Come on.
Oh, I know. No, she was great. I would like to see her continue in the franchise too. I hope she does.
Yeah,
because she won't be back in the Marvels, I'm sure.
Apparently,
unless there's flashbacks or something like that. But if you listen to what happened in WandaVision, she did. So
yeah, But yeah,
no spoilers. But
it was a great movie. I really liked the scenes with Leiter because it really played up their friendship that didn't quite build in the movies, but was there in the books and stuff like that. And I thought their scenes were poignant, especially Leiter's end. Spoilers. But yeah, it was just really good. And I even liked the little touches, like when Ray Fiennes' M is in the Hall of M's, and you see Judi Dench's portrait, but then when he gets up, you see the portrait of the original M from the older Bond movies. I thought was quite
Bernard
cool.
Lee was there.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I was like, that was very cool. So
well, that's definitely. I don't know if what they're saying exactly with all this, that there's continuity with these James Bonds or these 007s, and maybe they are, because there's definitely some. I feel like they're acknowledging that all of those movies exist, or some of them at least.
They seem to be, and especially in some of the other movies too. They kind of acknowledge those. So
do you know? I mean, just watching this, I watched it a couple of times. I mean, there's definitely some creepy moments, like the beginning with Rami Malek's character. Although you don't know that's him, obviously, but because they, as you pointed out before, they put him in a mask to save money for de-aging. That was smart.
That's right.
But the scene where they go to visit Christoph Waltz in the vault or wherever the hell they keep him in the thing, when that slow thing where he's like coming towards him, I'm like, fuck, that is creepy.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, and it's just this guy sitting there. But it's like,
he has such a power as an actor, I guess.
Yeah, he just kind of exuded creepiness and power in that scene. It was like, wow, that was wicked.
But I guess at some point I was questioning that scene, and was she trying to really leave and not do anything, or did she think that Bond would actually try to choke out Christoph Waltz's character?
Maybe. I think she was like, no, I can't do this.
So she didn't intend for him to die then?
Well, I think she did up till she got there, and then she was just like, nope, can't do this, and didn't know that maybe she didn't know the things would transfer to Bond, or because she pulled her hand away really quick. She's like, no, don't do that. And
I also feel like there could have been, there could have been a moment where Bond could have. I feel like they could have figured out a way to scientifically fix this problem, but
no, I agree. That to me, but that wasn't the story.
Well, no. I guess what I'm saying is I would have liked maybe another equally or more compelling reason for him to do what he did. Maybe. It's sort of developed over time. But it kind of, because this is something that we just got introduced to in this movie, and over the course of 2.5 hours or whatever, we're supposed to, he kind of undergoes a kind of a larger change, maybe, because even at the beginning of this movie, he's happy with her, and then he rejects her.
Right.
It's like, he kind of seesaws a bit. So the development of this whole arc, which I understand was the point, but the development of that maybe was a little too rushed, in my humble opinion, at least. And the fact that he was willing to make the hard sacrifice at the end just because he couldn't be with her. He was ready to dump her like 2 hours ago. You know?
I see what you're saying.
So,
yeah. Well, he had dumped.
Saying,
he had dumped her 2 hours ago.
Right. He was like ready to never see her again a couple hours ago. So it's like, I mean, I know it wasn't really a couple hours.
No, I don't know,
but it's like, you know, that kind of thing. Oh, but now I'm going to sacrifice everything because I can't be with you.
Well, I mean, he asked Q. He's like, you know, this and this and this, and Q's like, no, it can never be fixed. It's permanent.
Yeah, but I know that's why they did that. But I'm saying, is that a good enough reason to not live your life? You could see them through glass. You could still be a part of your child's life. Spoilers, if even from a distance.
You could kiss each other through a piece of cellophane.
Whatever, yeah, exactly. Or they could figure out a way to neutralize it. I mean, it's
right.
just, I don't know. It just seems like there could have been, that can't be the only reason. Like, he still could have run, you know. He had to leave, like, maybe he had to leave the doors open and hold it open manually.
Right. Or
like, to sit there the whole time.
Or even it's like, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe it should have been something like it will eventually kill you anyway, or you know, I know the point was to make him realize it, you know, how important his relationship, but maybe it's like if you come in contact with anybody, they'll die, kind of thing. And it'd be like, well,
yeah, but they made the point of saying it was genetically tailored.
No, I know,
genetically tailored weapon. So.
I know.
No, it's just, you can't, if I can't have you, baby, I don't want to live.
But that was right? The story, right? It was like I don't know.
I guess.
And
he's like, I did one good thing in my life.
And he was really injured too. He couldn't have, you know.
Yeah, because he's never run with a shot, a knee with a bullet in it or anything. I just think the whole thing was, we need to get Bond on the roof for that cool speech, and then the shit blows up so he can watch it, the whole thing explode.
Yeah, whatever. And it wasn't like, well, he was on that building and all the missiles hit. I mean, we saw him get vaporized even. It was like, wow, that's pretty definite.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm saying I know how the meeting went. Daniel Craig says, I want there to be absolutely no possibility that I didn't get blown the shit out.
I don't want to have a change of heart in a few years and then like get 18 injuries making another one. So
protect me from myself and the giant truck of money you're going to bring to me to do one more Bond movie. So
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was definitely a great ending, and I will watch those 5 movies many, many more times because I think just the whole throughput and arc was great. I mean, I totally expected the tragedy of the movie to be kind of mirror on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and that you know.
Well, he even says the line from Her Majesty's
Secret
Service.
So I totally expected what's her name to be the one who dies, and it's like. No, they went against type, and they.
Well, Vesper was the one who died for him.
Well,
She's the one that got away.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that you could make the case that he didn't want to live because Vesper wasn't alive.
Oh, that's possible.
I think he always loved Vesper and never really loved Lea Seydoux' character, whose name escapes me, the character name. But it's like I think he always, because he goes to visit Vesper. And he never forgets about her. He never,
That's
think
true.
about whatever he says. So I think he just couldn't live without her.
Yeah, it could be.
And that's what happened. And once he saw that he had a kid, again, spoilers, and he was going to live on in the girl, and he'd done something good in his life, and he loved somebody, and they loved him, and then now he has a kid, and he feels happy, and so he's fulfilled.
His acting with when he first sees the kid,
killed enough people,
and when she's going to sleep, and when she's being held captive by Rami Malek was just. Daniel Craig just did a phenomenal job. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's just I didn't understand Rami Malek's motivation really either, but whatever.
So what you're saying is that
he's the bad guy.
Yeah, so
he's the bad guy. Bad guys do bad guy things because they're bad guys.
So what you're saying is Bond was like, "Ooh, hey, I can get blown up by missiles and I don't have to pay child support." That's what you're saying,
right?
He was trying to get out of paying child support.
Because his MI6 pension is not going to cover.
It's like you're going to have to pay 5 years of back child support.
I feel like double O's probably have good life insurance, and so if they die in a terrorist attack, they probably.
I don't know. Do you think because they're expected to die, so maybe that's
they get extra money? Yeah, I don't know.
And they're not supposed
sure
to have families, so
Wasn't she already rich anyway? I don't think she has to worry about it.
Yeah, no, she already had.
I'm sure someone else will step up and want to take care of that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Q's like thinking, maybe I shouldn't.
Or Lashana Lynch's character, Nomi, is like, hey, so since Bond's dead, and I'm basically Bond, hey.
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing?
No, Joe, there's only room for one gay character in any movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Q's already gay, so I'm sorry.
Yes.
But you never see him doing anything gay or anything at all. Like his date never shows up and he's just like making dinner or whatever.
Yeah, that was my question. I'm like, so did he call him and say don't bother, or did he show up and he's like, listen, I got company. I mean,
I got James Bond in here. He's
and he's not supposed to be here, so you gotta maybe Q killed him because he's like, oh, you saw Bond.
Maybe.
So
yeah, at the end of the movie, there's like the post credit sequence where Q like opens the closet and the guy's tied up and there's like, sorry, I forgot about you.
Are you ready for dinner now? I brought you some wine.
Awkward. I brought you some wine and some and whatever he was making. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. You know what? I obviously I don't have a problem with Q being gay, but I just think it's funny. He was almost like he might as well have been in the closet, really.
Right.
And of course, I picked closet because that's funny.
Yes, I get it. Yes.
It wasn't. Yeah, like I said, it's not my favorite Daniel Craig. I think Skyfall is probably my favorite Daniel Craig James Bond movie because it's just so good.
Yeah, Skyfall was really good.
And also Casino Royale because it was just sort of raw, and I enjoyed it also.
I'll be honest, I like all 5 of them. I think they're all excellent films. I like...
Yeah, Spectre. I think Spectre is my least favorite.
But my recent rewatch of that, I'm like, this is actually a really good movie. I think what is interesting about Quantum of Solace and Spectre especially is that they definitely aren't a by the numbers Bond movie, either one of them.
Yeah, true.
And but to me, I guess maybe because I watched them all back to back, they further the story in really good ways. So I don't know. But yeah, they're definitely not, I think Quantum of Solace works especially better as like part 2 of Casino Royale, because that's kind of what it is, really. It's a follow-up.
Right. It literally takes place a second later.
Right, exactly. I mean, more than any other Bond movie, it is an absolute direct sequel to the previous Bond movie. So
yeah, I think this entire sequence is Bond trying to find closure for Vesper's death.
Okay. That's fair.
That's my. He wants to join. He wants to be with her. I think that's his entire motivation. He's got a kid, and his legacy can live on, or whatever if he even thinks about that. But like I said, he did one thing. He did one good thing, having her, and then he misses Vesper too much to live, and that's it. Plus, because I don't know. I didn't believe. I guess, even as good as Daniel Craig is and as much as they tried, I just didn't necessarily believe 100% that Bond would do that.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know. But I think it worked for the story. I especially...
had to.
I thought one of the creepiest parts of the movie, though, was when Bond's confronting Blofeld, and he's like, yeah, you're nanobots. You intended to kill me. Instead, you killed, like, your entire organization and all these people. And he's just kind of like... smirks and he's like, oops. It was like, wow, that's cold-blooded, man.
It's like, yeah, everyone makes mistakes. Oh well.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
There's always more greedy assholes I can recruit. Well, I don't think Blofeld had many illusions about that he was going to leave that room alive. I think he thought that Bond was coming to kill him, frankly.
Probably.
The fact that you can reach through that thing and strangle somebody was probably a bad security. But,
yeah, maybe you shouldn't have lowered the glass. Maybe, but
well, then it'd be too much like Silence of the Lambs was going to talk to him through that.
Well, especially when it's someone who can kill you with their bare hands. Maybe you don't give them the opportunity for that, even if you trust them.
Right. Well, how much do you trust James Bond? I mean, he's kind of a loose cannon still, right?
Right.
So,
exactly.
And technically, not even an MI6 operative.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's just retired. He's just some dude who used to work here.
But again, that was the story, so it worked.
No, I know. You had to get some way for him to choke Blofeld, and then Blofeld had to die, and then he's like, "Well, it's on my. It's never going to come out of you."
He's like, "Whoa, what did I do? I didn't mean to do that."
I mean, I know I'm powerful, but
he was like, "Well, how about that?"
Anyway,
here, touch me. No, just kidding.
No, don't touch me. Anyway, it's just it was good, and I think that it's, like we said, a fitting sort of conclusion to the Daniel Craig tenure.
Yes.
So now the speculation, of course, is rampant. Who will be the next James Bond? It's not going to be Idris Elba. I know that.
No.
It's either going to be supposedly the frontrunners I've heard are Tom Hardy and Richard Madden.
Really?
I think is the other. Yeah, Richard Madden from Eternals and also from Game of Thrones. I think he's one of the frontrunners.
I don't think I want either one of those, but
I feel like he's too young. I don't know the Tom. I love Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy's great, but I don't think he, unless they go a different way with Bond, I don't feel like he's. I don't know what the word is. How to be kind about this. I just don't think he's the right person to play the part.
I'll say it. I don't think he has the acting range to be able to do it.
Really? You don't think so?
No.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of weird because Bond doesn't demand a lot, but I think after I think Daniel Craig set a high bar.
True.
So,
well, I guess the question is, what will they do now? Are they going to do another origin story, or are they going to just go on, or
yeah,
whatever? I mean, that's the thing about the whole franchise. I mean, it's like, how do you keep reinventing it? It's the same kind of thing, and at some point, people are going to get tired of it. Maybe, at least with this, they were able to sort of tell a continuing story, which made sense. All of them kind of stuck together and worked out. I thought it was kind of a bold move. And a smart way to go. But if it were me, I would continue with Lashana Lynch. I would continue with everybody you've already got.
Yeah, because they've built such a great full world with this and fantastic actors in those roles. I would hate to see them like start over whole cloth. That would be sad.
Yeah, continue with everything you've got going on.
Yeah.
And then bring back, like you said, Anna Darmus's character as the new Felix Leiter, and just continue with Lashana Lynch for another movie or two and see what happens, Worst case scenario, you make a Bond movie with her and with all these people, and it fails or doesn't do as well, and then you can always recast later.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they were smart enough to get her locked in for a couple.
Yes.
And so I would do that. If it's the easiest thing to do, and it would make the most sense continuity-wise, like we're just going to turn over and have this person be Bond or a 007. It doesn't have to be James Bond. It would be 007. Yeah. And at the end of the movie is the first time they ask her, what's your name? Bond, Jamie Bond, or something,
Yes.
And that's the end. Boom. Smash cut. James Bond will return.
Maybe they'll
Jamie Bond will return.
Maybe they'll go in a completely different direction and have like a Hunger Games-esque thing for who's going to be James Bond. Fight it out. May the odds be ever in your favor.
I don't know. No. Indeed. Roll with advantage.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, so we'll see. I'll be interested to see because I always like a good James Bond film.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a lot of it had to do with Daniel Craig. And I would say now Daniel Craig is my second favorite Bond of all time. So
I would agree. And I think the other important thing is if you're going to continue it, which I think they're never going to let this property go and never stop because they like making money.
They keep making money. Yeah, why would you stop?
But I think if you're going to do it, you can't just go, well, that was great sequence with Daniel Craig. Now we're just going to go back to making the Bond movies of yore. I don't think you can, because, I mean, that was kind of the thing that was pointed out in several instances in the Daniel Craig James Bond movies was, some of the tropes from the previous Bond movies is like, those aren't really things we do anymore, or that isn't going to quite work.
Love them and leave them. And
right. And some of that, so I think you got to,
well, you're right. That's why it needs to be. I think if they're going to, try to address that stuff, it needs to be not the same old thing. And I mean, that's why the Lashana Lynch, Anna Darmus thing, makes sense in this new environment.
Yeah, I would watch a series of movies with them. That would be fantastic.
I absolutely would, or just with Anna Darmus. By the way,
sure,
too. I would just watch a movie with her. But and no, it's not just because she's pretty. She's a good actress too. But yeah, I think that's what they should do, but they probably won't. So.
No, they'll probably like, well, here we're going to go back to, I don't know. I'll watch it, but I'll be disappointed. But
yeah, I don't think you can. These movies can exist in a vacuum. It's just like you can't unless you set it in the 70s or something. That's another way to go. It's like
that's true.
James Bond Origins or something, or First Class. Where James Bond is a young man and you trace his life from like being in the Navy, and then he goes into, or he's in the SAS, and then he goes into service for the first time, like his first mission or something.
It could be a
And then you
period
could,
movie set in the time of the first of the books. That would
well, that's
be
what I'm saying. It
yeah.
could be the 60s or the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Then misogyny's cool. So there you go. There's a way around
Well,
it.
and that's a different way to go without uh, going through the trouble of going, yeah, we're not going to continue with these characters in this world. It's like, oh, we're going to go back to Bond, like he was in the books and make it appear. I mean, they could do that. That show Pennyworth about Alfred Pennyworth as a spy back in the 50s and 60s or whatever is doing well. So you could do something stylish like that. I think that would work. I'd watch that.
Yeah, it would work. I mean, you could do it for a movie or two. I don't know. It's expensive to make shit back in time.
Sure,
So
sure.
you'd have to. But I would be interested in that, like a Mad Men, James Bond kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, that could actually be interesting. Well, I just thought of First Class, like X-Men First Class, because that was a really cool sort of detour for the X-Men franchise, which I think revitalized it at Fox, at least for sure.
I wonder if you
for
could
a couple movies.
I wonder if you could do that as like a streaming TV series, and then the movies are like, continuing with Lashana Lynch.
You're never going to see James Bond on a TV. I don't think.
I guess you're probably right. I just don't.
Unless Disney buys the character. Disney Plus, James Bond, young James Bond, freshman year.
The James Bond cinematic universe.
There you go.
I just don't want to see them, I guess, story and character wise, go backwards or regress. I want to see it go forward. And I don't know. I mean, Barbara Broccoli is pretty smart, and she seems to be taking care of the franchise well. So,
and very nutritious. So I don't know what that came from.
Wow.
Anyway, all right. So speaking of franchises, we should switch over to Shang-Chi.
We should. Yes.
I'm sorry, I keep calling him Shang-Chi because that was a funny bit in the movie because he was calling himself Shang. He's like, your name was Shang. Okay, two things about Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Yes.
Awkwafina, I would watch her in anything. First of all, awesome in this movie.
She is amazing.
And she's amazing. I think the movie would suffer if she wasn't in it. Nothing against Simu Liu or Tony Leung. Also, Tony Leung.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to single out Awkwafina and Michelle Yeoh. Also, fucking awesome as always. It was I was like, thank God Michelle Yeoh showed up because I just love her. I think she's amazing. But as an actress, but also as a martial artist, obviously. The movie is elevated. Any film was elevated by her presence, for sure.
I agree.
But Tony Leung was awesome too.
Yeah.
I would say this was not my favorite Marvel movie, but it's up there. It was really good, and it had a heart. And I know this is going to sound smarmy a little bit, but it had a heart in the right place, and it was just. I really enjoyed it. It was light but serious, and I like to see a relationship on screen between a male and a female where it's not how are they going to bone anytime soon.
Right.
They were friends.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it was cool to see Wong show up. Oh, by the way, spoilers for Shang-Chi if you haven't seen it. But it was cool to see Wong show up.
And the Abomination, who's apparently like
a
pal of Wong's now, because he's like, okay, come on. And they leave together. I thought that was pretty great.
Well, I kind of feel like Abomination is kind of Wong's experiment. Like Abomination's like in prison almost. And so Wong just lets him out occasionally to fight, but
well, that whole thing with like, I thought you were going to pull your punches better than that and stuff. It's like, oh,
that hurt, Emil.
I like that Wong, presents this kind of aura of being this upright, serious, by the rules kind of guy, but he's really not. It's pretty great.
He's not, and he's doing the underground fight club, but then he does karaoke too, which I apprappreciate.
That was just great. It's like
you knew that was coming.
We could go home, or
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna say I would watch a movie with Awkwafina and Michelle Yeoh as like mother and daughter. That would be a show that I would watch 100 times, 100 episodes of that. But anyway, the movie is great. The villains are great. I like the fact that what Marvel's doing with these characters. I mean, in some ways, it's Tony Leung's story. It's the villain's story.
Right.
It's like his origin is like his history. I think it gives the whole movie more impact, like they did with Thanos. It's like, oh, we understand the bad guy because they spent a lot of time developing him before we even meet, Shang-Chi. We get into the Legend of the Ten Rings first. But yeah, it's just the fights were. I mean, this is what Iron Fist should have been, right? It's like the fights are
Yes.
excellent.
Yes.
I mean, there's such a great mixture of like Jackie Chan Drunken Master shit and wushu and all this other. It's so well done. I was so worried that it was going to look like shit, honestly, and I was worried about the fight scenes and I was worried about everything. But it was all of it was so good. We get such good mythology, and fucking Tony Slattery shows up again too. I'm like,
that was great.
And they totally explain that. I'm like, I'm an actor. I mean, fucking Ben Kingsley.
He's like, he did a bit from Macbeth to save his life, and they're like, okay, so you can do shows now. And
he's like the court
Trevor
jester.
Slattery, how are
sense.
you? And then, but
But
the fact that they, with him especially, they weaved in like the fantasy elements, and they didn't seem out of place, like the little Morris or whatever he was. Yeah. I love that when he's like ignoring it and they're like, what is that? And he's like, oh my God, you can see him.
You can see that. Yeah, I thought I was hallucinating. Yeah, that was great. See, that's what I'm saying. These movies have humor and they work. They're still serious, but they have humor. And that was funny. All the Ben Kingsley stuff was funny. Like when he's pretending to be dead during the fight.
Yes.
Like, just lay down and go with it. Yes. It's fine. It's classic.
But they give him a poignant moment at the end where they're sending off the lighted boats in for each of the souls, and he actually does one of those, and I was like, wow, that was a nice little subtle character development that he's like, he kind of went through this with everybody, and
if you're gonna have Ben Kingsley in the movie, you should give him something to do, I guess. But yeah, it was just, I don't know that usually in these movies something like annoys me or whatever. It's like, oh, why did they do that? I don't know that I could think of anything that really bothered me in this movie. I just went with it, and I didn't really know what to expect exactly, because I'll be honest and say I never read any Shang-Chi comics,
right?
Except when he overlapped with like the main sort of Marvel Avengers and stuff, when he overlapped with that stuff. But I didn't go back and read his other stuff. Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was great.
I thought everybody got a good chance for character development. I mean, even the dude that had the sword as an arm, he was like, he got to change and evolve, because he's like, yeah, we do need to work together because we're dead otherwise. It was like, wow, that was...
You're right.
Yeah. So...
You're right. Yeah, they went a different... They subverted expectations for... Yeah. What was his name? Razor Elbow or something?
Razor Elbow, yeah. So...
Razor Face?
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Taser Face and yes. I know, that's why I couldn't help but think about that. They got Taserface and Razor Hand. Now, they're going to have to team up.
Absolutely, right? Yes.
And he even had it on his BMW too.
Yeah,
everyone had a BMW in this movie apparently, which is funny. But
no, and
yeah, it was just,
and the villain. I mean, yeah, he was not just maniacal, like I just want to rule the world thing. Because I mean, they even have this sequence where he's like, I gave it all up for, to be with your mom, and then
for love.
Yeah, and I don't know, it was just very well written, and I still say though, Awkwafina was.
The breakout,
standout. She was amazing.
Well, because she could do the funny stuff, but she can also do the poignant shit too, which I thought was good. And there are a few moments where she's appreciating Sean for his muscles and whatever, but it doesn't interfere with anything. And she's not like needs to be rescued.
Right.
She ends up having a pivotal role in the final battle for sure.
Yes.
But it's like overcoming your past and believing in yourself and becoming who you are, kind of thing, right? Yeah. It's like Tony Leung's character. Was a bad guy, like you said, and wanted power, and then he gave it all up for love, but you can't escape it because that's who you really are in the end of the day.
Right.
But still, you can make the case that all the stuff he was doing throughout the entire film was because of love, right?
Right.
He missed her, and the beast of the dream beast, or whatever it was called, they didn't really give it a name, but was calling to him
in her name.
Because in her name, right? And so that was his entire motivation, was love for her.
Right.
So that's why he was willing to do anything. But I don't think Shang-Chi's had his moment of that yet. But he did come into his own with the rings and be able to manipulate them towards the end for the fight and all that.
Well, and Tony Leung's character sacrificed himself for love in the end. He's like, I don't want my son to die.
He did.
And he gives him the rings.
He didn't.
So.
And he saw that he was doing the same power as his wife, right?
Right.
He saw that he was doing that power move with the rings. And he's like, oh,
yeah.
You are my son,
yeah.
And I do love you more than power, and I will. Yeah, exactly. And so that was it. And that moment wouldn't have had as much impact if all the other stuff hadn't been done so well and developed so well from the beginning.
Exactly.
Like if they hadn't taken 5 minutes of screen time for that whole confrontation at the beginning with Tony Leung and his wife when they're doing the fight, quote unquote, that sort of dance, and that's the first time I knew I loved your father. That was
yeah.
if they hadn't done that, they hadn't taken the time for that and developed the characters, then you wouldn't have given a shit towards the end. But they did take the time, and that's what I liked about this movie. And people criticize Marvel movies a lot, rightfully so. Some of them aren't as good.
Sure.
But I think in this one in particular, because they had maybe lower expectations from people, this is like, I don't want to say a side character or a minor character in the MCU, but it kind of was in a way a somewhat unknown character. Like when Iron Man was first getting made, it's like they were able to take their time and they were able to do a really good job and tell the story they wanted to tell, and it worked. It totally worked. I think it was really well done.
I think the other part too is it wasn't Shang-Chi was not weighed down by being the next link in the chain, so to speak. I mean, I think you could argue that the mid-credit sequence kind of sets things in motion for the next big bad, but it didn't. I mean,
welcome to the circus,
right? Other than saying, "Oh yeah, we live in a world where half the universe can be wiped out by a snap." It didn't really tie in. Well, Trevor Slattery, I guess, but it didn't really tie in any major story points to everything else. It got to be its own thing and tell its own story, and it did extremely well with it. So,
well, it makes sense though in a world. If you think in a world where that thing can happen, it kind of makes it helped to show you, and in some ways why Shang-Chi and Katie were happy in the jobs they like.
Right.
It's like we don't really need to aspire to greatness,
right?
Because we're happy, because we could get snapped away any minute. You know, shit could happen.
Yeah.
And it's like being true to yourself, right? Who you really are, and that's what Shang-Chi had to finally go. You know what? You're right. I was a bad guy, but I mean, although I don't get the impression that he ever actually killed anybody. Maybe he did. I don't know, but I think he went on the first mission to actually kill the guy, but didn't do it. Right. So I don't think he ever actually assassinated anybody.
I thought that was his big reveal, though. He goes, "I lied. I thought he did kill the guy." And then that's he did kill him, and that's when he's like, "No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to be a part of this." So,
you know, I can't remember. I mean, I watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I hate to say.
No, I'm pretty
like,
sure that was the thing, because before the big battle, he had the talk with.
That's right. You're right.
He's like, "I lied. I did kill him," and that's when I was like,
You're
"I
right.
can't go back." So,
you're right. Well, then that makes it still makes sense from what I'm saying, because he just. He was trying to redeem himself, trying to live up to, because he thought he was a bad guy, right? But then he realizes he's not a bad guy, and he's a hero. But heroes have flaws.
I still love you changed your name to Sean. That's like that was.
I mean, it was a it's a Marvel Disney show. They could have just said, well, it's like hiding on Tatooine with the name Skywalker.
Right,
I was waiting for that to drop in, but they didn't drop it
exactly.
in. But,
so that was
that's too on the nose, I guess. But,
I gotta say, I definitely want to see this movie on the big screen, if only to watch the giant dragon fight at the end on the big screen, because that was fucking great.
Yeah, you know what? I take it back. If I had any complaints, not complaints, but if I had any kind of criticism, it's that the end fight sequence kind of got a little, not muddled, but it's like, what is sort of happening? And I think what happened is I was watching it on a 50-inch television,
right?
And if I was not seeing it in the theater, I'm sure it would have been more visually, because it looks like a lot of. There's a lot of stuff happens, a lot of water swirling around and everything, and I'm like, I mean, I followed it. Obviously, he was swirling the rings around to do shit inside the dragon, or the nightmare beast or whatever it was.
It would have played better on a big screen, though. I think
it would have played better on a big screen. Yeah, and of course that's the way it was intended to be seen.
Sure, of course,
and composed and photographed that way for a reason. But I should say composited, because it was all just digital. But it's basically. Simu Liu hanging on a wire, basically in a green soundstage. But sorry to spoil it for everybody. But that's all was happening.
There weren't real dragons.
There weren't real dragons.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, folks. Literally, the entire movie takes place on a soundstage with a green everywhere.
Pretty much.
But maybe there's a couple of rocks thrown in, or some grass on the ground, or something.
They imported actual grass from.
Well, they shot in Australia, so I mean, I'm sure that some of it was live action. I'm sure that some of it was like plates they did. It's harder to put people. I mean, it's not necessary to put people on a floor, right? So you can have actual fake grass under the ground to make it look like it, but then the background's all.
Well, I just figured that the actual mystical place were like, we're not going to give you permission to film here, but you can take some rocks and grass and make it look like you're here.
Well, no, I seem to remember some
I'm being
shots showing up
silly.
online that they built some of that village somewhere in New Zealand.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
someplace.
yeah.
So they built the sets, but obviously the backdrop was fake. And the
No,
dragons
no,
were fake,
it
but,
was all real. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't give them permission to shoot
right.
there because they're trying to be secret. But
Oh, sure, that's
see,
it.
see,
The trees,
yeah,
the trees wouldn't let them go into the
I'm
village.
not
I
good at
understand
telling
now.
jokes. Sorry.
Well, that's true. That's not true. What else?
But we got a
Let's see.
cameo
I
from
mean,
Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers. That was kind of fun.
Bruce Banner. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing that was interesting to me is that you had Bruce, Mark Ruffalo, show up in human form, but he still got his arm in a sling.
Yeah.
And Carol has her long hair again.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, if I always think about timeline stuff, like where does this movie feature in the sort of MCU timeline? Because he was pretty much resolved to, like, I'm going to be Smart Hulk now. This is the best of both worlds, Got the brains and the brawn, and he was going to stay that way, and yet here he is in human form with a busted arm. So,
Well, you know the reason for that, right?
And Carol's hair got long. Well, for money,
Yeah, they probably didn't have the money to do Hulk in this.
I'm sure they. Listen, dude, this is a fucking Marvel movie. They got money
That's
to do
probably
anything.
true. Or maybe Ruffalo was like, I'm not going to put on the mocap suit for this one scene. Sorry.
For me to stand in this,
Yeah.
I'll put my arm in this thing. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that shit was shot like whatever 2 years ago. And Brie Larson's like, look, I'm doing a part. I can't cut my hair right now.
Right.
So I wonder what kind of hair she'll have in the Marvels, but that doesn't matter because that's coming out in 2 years. Whenever
Are they going to break continuity, or is it going to be? No, sorry.
I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
People can grow their hair out. It doesn't take that long.
No.
I just think that she was also the character who showed up because Brie Larson and Daniel Destin Cretton has done like 4 movies together. So it's like I assume he just called her up and said, "Come on, Brie, be in this movie."
Well, that and Ruffalo and Brie Larson were probably prepping for another Marvel movie at the time. And they're like, "Hey, since you're basically on the lot or in the vicinity,
that's probably true. Yeah.
Can you be the people that cameo in this? Can we have them for 2 hours on this day?" So.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, Banner is the science sort of element, and Carol is sort of the mystical space cosmic element.
Yeah.
So when Wong is talking about the rings, like, where do they come from? They're older than 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Are they McLuhan technology, or whatever they say in the comics? I can't remember if it's McLuhan or whatever it is, but they're alien technology of some kind. But Carol doesn't recognize them or whatever. But I'm sure we'll get.
But
more
they're
about that,
emitting a beacon. They're calling to somebody. So.
Who are they calling? Is it Galactus?
Ooh,
Question mark.
Yes.
I'm just saying, is it Galactus? Is it, we got to get the Fantastic Four in here somehow.
Yep.
So, and Doctor Doom
Yes.
has to show up at some point too. But I feel like, and we'll get into the Disney announcements in a second, like we said before, I really don't think they're going to introduce Doctor Doom or the Fantastic Four in a Disney Plus show.
No.
That seems like that's a theatrical, big budget movie reveal. So Doom will be in the Fantastic Four, or whatever they end up doing. They'll all be together because that kind of makes sense.
I think the joke needs to be that the Fantastic Four were formed a few years ago and they've been kind of working in secret or trying to figure out their powers. But the joke absolutely needs to be, how many movies can we claim that the Invisible Woman was in? But we didn't see her because she was invisible, right? She's like, I witnessed all these things. And then we could have like new flashbacks created for various pivotal scenes. That would be great.
Right. Yeah. There's that one scene like in Spider-Man where what's his face, Jake Gyllenhaal's character is at the MIT speech that Tony Stark gives, and also the running kind of thing is like, now that Miss Marvel was also an MIT student
at
MIT that time when Tony was there, so you can also make the case that Sue Storm is there too, invisible, watching the whole thing.
Exactly.
So that's the pivotal. That is the unmitigated pivotal point in history, right there.
Yes.
Where everything happens. That's possible. I mean, she's invisible, right? So, I like the Fantastic Four. I didn't hate the Fantastic Four movies. I mean, they were kind of shit, but it was kind of. I just thought it was funny that they had basically all the Fox TV stars to be in their movies.
Right.
Except for Chris Evans, obviously. Although I wonder if Chris Evans will feel weird if he's ever in a movie with the human guy playing the Human Torch. That'll be strange.
That'd be funny. They got to bring Captain America back just for that scene. He'd be like, They
just kind of look at each other and go, anyway.
Yes.
He's I'm gonna go get blazed in my Winnie. Oh wait, that's not Captain.
Wait,
America. What? Anyway, sorry, that's a Scott Pilgrim reference for those of you following at home.
That's another great movie. Anyway.
Good old Chris Evans, so versatile, and he was also in Knives Out. He should have shown up in Bond too. It's like everyone in Knives Out should show up in the
Yeah,
next Bond film.
exactly.
I can't say enough positive things about Shang-Chi. It was just a really well done movie, and everyone seemed to be loving it and having a great time.
Yeah.
And Aquafina was awesome, and yeah, Simu Liu was awesome too. Here's the thing about him: he's physically awesome, perfect. I mean, he was a stuntman. I don't know if he gets a lot. He doesn't get a lot to do really in this movie. I think in some ways it's not really his movie. Almost, it's like it's Aquafina's movie or it's his sister's movie. The actress was. I thought she was really good too.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had her be like she's going to dismantle the 10 rings. No, she's not.
No.
If by dismantle you mean make it more powerful, yes,
sure,
absolutely.
Of course she will.
And of course, what do they say at the end, right? The 10 rings will return, not Shang-Chi will return.
Razor Fist or whatever is her right-hand man. That was great. It's like, well, okay.
It's her right-hand man.
Well, it's I guess maybe left-hand man, because, never mind.
It basically bookends the movie, because at the beginning, there's that pull-out where Tony Leung's character's on the throne, and they're handing papers back and forth. And at the end, she's doing the same thing, and they're like, doing the same thing. So it's like she's taken over the mantle. I mean, she was already running that underground fight club. It's not like she's, goody-goody
right.
or anything. And then I imagine you'll see her show up, and then maybe you'll see Peggy Carter too, or not Peggy Carter, but Sharon Carter show up. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they'll be buddies somehow.
Or rivals, and they got to fight it out, or something.
Or rivals, and they got to fight it out.
Yeah.
Girls are getting it done.
That's right.
No. Anyway, but as long as they get Michelle Yeoh back and they get, I'll be happy.
I'd watch another one.
Yeah,
I think I agree with you though that he didn't. For a movie with a title character in it, it didn't seem to be primarily about him. So,
well, no, it was like Avengers Endgame and everything. It's like it's a lot about Thanos. And that's the key. I think I've always felt, and I'm sure I'm not alone. The key to good drama is the strength of the villain, right? The conflict is the strength of the villain. So the stronger the villain, the stronger the story. So they had to make it a lot about Tony Leung's character and about his life and his quest for power, and then which elevates the rest of it and also informs Shang-Chi's journey. It's like I have to be comfortable with who I am, tell the truth, and come clean about what I've done, and people will still like me anyway, and I can become a hero instead of a villain, which is what happens. I mean, it is his story for sure, but it is, and the legend of the 10 rings. So it's like all of that has to be spelled out. I mean, but you could also make the case that this was never supposed to be the launch of a giant franchise. Either it's like another Marvel character. There'll probably be another Shang-Chi movie,
sure,
or two, but he's supposed to just be part of Phase 4 Avengers, right? I mean, that's kind of his thing. Like, that's why Banner says, "Welcome to the circus." That's why Carol's there. It's like you're going to be fighting along with us, against the bigger threat, which is Galactus or Kang or both,
right?
Or the Silver Surfer, or I mean, the Silver Surfer is going to show up at the end of one of these movies during the post-credit scene. I am the Herald of Galactus. He's going to talk about how Galactus is coming, and you're all fucked.
Yeah, basically,
and that'll be the end.
Yeah,
you're literally fucked now.
No, I expect Shang-Chi will show up in another Marvel movie or more before he shows up in a sequel. But I don't doubt that. I mean, it's done quite well. Like all the Marvel
they'll make another one at least, if not two.
But as long as they have. As long as anything he's in has Aquafina in it, I'm definitely watching. So,
well, it will, and she'll also be in the larger MCU movies too, because they're a package deal. I mean, they both go through the portal with Wong. Right? So it's like they're together. They're a team, and so they're always going to be in the movies together, which is good, and that'll definitely help. That'll definitely help the Marvel movies because they're funny, but they definitely need fresh blood, if you want to call it that. And she was definitely a breath of fresh air, or whatever you want to call it. So I can't say enough good things about her.
I know.
I think the movie kind of falls apart if she's not in it.
I think you're right. If you remove that character, then it's like, okay. But yeah.
Well, you still care because Tony Leung is so good and Michelle Yeoh is so good, and a lot of other sort of veterans that come in to sort of elevate everything and make it. I keep saying elevate, but it's a good word. Sort of bring up the fights, especially, which I loved. I thought the fights were excellent. That bus fight was
that was crazy. That was really good.
It took him a month to do that, apparently, or something.
I believe it, because wow, that was a lot going on.
And what I was reading is that is the point. They were filming that when they shut down everything for COVID, so they had to come back like a year later and pick it up.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So I'm like, that can't be easy, because people are like totally different now.
Right.
But anyway. But yeah, it was just seeing the Jackie Chan, the Drunken Master kind of fights, and the whole thing with the jacket. That's totally Jackie Chan.
Absolutely.
It was just it was just so good, and it kind of had to be because I think they are also, even though it was a Netflix show, they still know that they got a lot of criticism for the stuff in Iron Fist, which was terrible.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It just was terrible. And I don't blame the fight choreographers and everything. I'm sure they're perfectly capable of doing the action. I think I blame the actor who probably couldn't do the stuff or wouldn't do the stuff. And also the short schedule Netflix put them on. They didn't have time to rehearse. I mean, you're doing a giant movie.
Yes.
You have time to perfect the fights.
Can you imagine though? It's like having this week we're going to film a training montage with you and Michelle Yeoh, where she's going to train you to fight. It would be like, I'm dead. This is great.
Yeah.
So because she is like effortlessly amazing. It's like, geez, yeah. So
well, I mean, you have she's a beautiful woman, obviously, and can act, and not even in her native language for one thing,
right?
And also obviously can do the martial arts, even and like you said, very graceful, very but it fit in with her character too, that she was doing the more like fluid fighting style, and that's like, but she can do it all, I think. But it's just it fit in perfectly with that, and it was definitely Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was definitely an influence, which is fine because that's a great thing to be influenced by.
Absolutely.
I was kind of a little bummed that Chow Yun Fat didn't show up, but that would have been cool. He's just sort of lurking in the background. Hey, what's up?
He should have been the guy that trained Aquafina in using the bow. That would have been great.
Maybe, but he's a big time stunt guy, a wushu martial arts guy. I'm going to totally forget his name, but he's actually got a lot of history in these movies, so it was was cool to see him. Yeah. But I guess you can't have too many sort of. I mean, it's kind of cool Easter egg stuff, but I mean, the point is that she is just
You don't want to detract from what's going on.
Yeah, you want to detract from Michelle Yeoh. Yeah. It's like you have this amazing person in your movie, and you want to make sure that they get the spotlight as much as possible. And Tony Leung too is just so good.
He's really good.
He's got that sort of like quiet menace. Like he doesn't shout. He doesn't like physically like intimidate you maybe by looking at him, but it's like his eyes do something, which is why he's been so great in so many movies. It's just, he could just kill you if he wanted to, but he's choosing not to at this moment.
Well, he can turn that on and off, because even like the scenes where he gave it all up and he was the loving family man, and then when he comes home and the wife is dead, it's like in the next scene, it's like back in his eyes. It was like, holy crap, that was just, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So no, fantastic movie. Definitely see it. If you haven't.
Definitely see it more than once, and try to see it in a movie theater.
Yes.
Support. I mean, if you feel safe to do that, obviously, but support the movie, because this is the kind of thing that there needs to be more of this. I think. I mean, I'm fine with mainstream MCU movies. Not that this isn't a mainstream MCU movie, but this kind of thing wouldn't be possible if there wasn't more representation in movies now. So this wouldn't have been made 10 years ago, probably, or maybe it would. I don't know, but it would have been more difficult. But it turned out great, and all these people should get a chance to make another movie or more things. So
absolutely, yep.
I think. Cool. So Disney Plus had a ton of Disney Day.
Yes.
Disney Plus Day, I guess, was the other day. By the time you hear this, it would have been several days ago. But they announced a shit ton of stuff and confirmed a shit ton of stuff. Gave us some final, or some real names for things like Agatha, House of Harkness, which is pretty cool.
Yes, I will totally. I think we even talked back then. It's like, if they do a spinoff series with her, we'll totally watch it. And it's like, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well. Yeah, that's great. I just wonder what Agatha we're going to see. Is she still trapped in the way she was left at the end of WandaVision, or what? But I'm in no matter what. Catherine Hahn is awesome, so I'm in for that. But yeah, lots of announcements, lots of confirmations, some footage from different things, some Moon Knight footage.
Yes.
I know you were excited about that. Oscar Isaac doing a weird accent, in my opinion, but
no, it was weird, but yeah.
I like Moon Knight. How about you? I don't even know what it was. I don't know. But you know what, man? It's Oscar Isaac, so I'm not going to be too upset about it. But the show looks interesting to me. I've never read Moon Knight comics because I can't read everything, but I try. It's just, but I'd like to go in things like this. It's okay because I go in kind of cold, which is fine. and then I can just enjoy the show. But it looks cool. I mean, he's going to do a great job. He's a good actor.
Yes, I'm a fan of the Moon Knight comics, but this looks right within what I like about the comics, so I'm very excited to see that. I was really happy to finally get some footage from the She-Hulk show. Even though it's supposed to be a comedy, I think it's still going to be pretty great.
Yeah, I had a question about the She-Hulk show because people are complaining that they changed the logo or something on the thing, which they did. They made it more like Law and Order, I thought, or more like whatever.
Well, yeah, because she's a lawyer. I mean, it's a lawyer show.
She's a lawyer but she's a lawyer who's basically always in the She-Hulk form. Yet in most of the footage in the trailer or whatever you want to call it, the teaser, she's not in She-Hulk form, which is probably because it's too expensive. But there is a definite She-Hulk butt shot, which the fanboys are excited about.
Yeah, well, I mean,
because she's thick, that's what they say.
The premise is that she's a successful lawyer, and then something happens. She gets injured, and she needs the emergency blood transfusion. She gets it from Bruce, which turns her into She-Hulk. But unlike him, she is still retains her personality when she hulks out, at least in the comics. So she's just Jennifer Walters, but big and green and powerful. But she's
in the comics, doesn't she get like a blood transfusion from her whatever cousin Bruce?
Yeah,
Banner
that's what I just said. That she gets a blood transfusion from Bruce. Did
you say blood transfusion? I'm sorry,
yeah.
I must have missed that.
I totally did.
I was on Instagram. I don't know what's going on.
I was reading something else. I was
just not paying
attention.
So
I like the fact that, and I know people are like, oh, it's going to be a comedy, it's going to be dumb. It's like if it's a Marvel type comedy, I think it'll be just fine, and I'm looking forward to it.
And Tatiana Maslany can do comedy and drama and whatever, and she can play 20 different characters in the same show. But I think it'll be. I'm going to enjoy it. Obviously, Mark Ruffalo is in the show, but in his Smart Hulk, at least in this footage, his Smart Hulk form, where he's working with the younger Jennifer Walters.
Yes.
Which is interesting. So when does she actually become She-Hulk? I don't know. It's interesting. It's weird. So they're deviating from the comics.
Somewhere around the first episode, I believe she becomes She-Hulk is what my prediction is going to be.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
She-Hulk in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, I think she's She-Hulk at the beginning, and then they flash back
that could be
to show how it happened.
Flashback. Yes.
The flashy back. And then, of course, we get one quick shot of Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, sans eye patch for Secret Invasion.
Yep. Looking forward to that, too.
I'm just wondering if that's Nick. Well, I think it's actually Nick Fury because when What's-His-Face plays Nick Fury in the post-credit sequence, he's scrolled up as Nick Fury. He's got the eye patch.
Right.
So
right.
In this one, although Ben Mendelsohn's character does return in Secret Invasion.
Yes, he is part of the cast for that. So,
but I wonder how they're going to do that because in the comics, the Skrulls are the bad guys totally, but in the MCU, in the Marvel movie or Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel is what I mean. They're not the bad guys; they're kind of the misunderstood. It's the Kree who are the bad guys.
Yeah.
So
there's obviously bad Skrulls out there somewhere, I guess.
Well, there must be an invasion force. Of bad Skrulls that are like Kree puppets or something. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure we'll see, but it's just
yes,
it looked interesting. Anything with Samuel Jackson is fine with me. And then, of course, a lot of footage from Hawkeye, the extended chase sequence. And the more I see that, the more I'm like, Haley Steinfeld, awesome.
Yep.
Jeremy Renner, fine. Haley Steinfeld, terrific. So I want her to branch out and do her own thing without him pretty soon, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would hope like if they do a Hawkeye season 2 that it's just about her. And he's
they're gonna do Young Avengers, so she'll be
there you
right?
go.
So
and there's already a spin-off from Hawkeye announced, Echo, the deaf character played by a deaf actor, which is fantastic in Hawkeye, spinning off into a show. I do like that in confirming some of the stuff we already knew about, they added like little details like so Loki season 2 is, well, I guess maybe this isn't a surprise. It is going to have Jonathan Majors as Kang in it, which I guess you have to resolve the first season, right? So maybe that's not that big of a surprise, but
it's nice. But does that mean that he survives the events of Multiverse of Madness? I guess so.
I guess so. And Ant-Man, and yes.
Oh, that's right. He's in Quantumania, actually.
Yeah, but I have a feeling he'll show up in Doctor Strange.
Well, when does Quantumania come out? Do you think Quantumania comes out after Loki season 2?
I don't know.
It might. Yeah, who knows? It's whenever Wakanda Forever comes out, whenever that is.
And we get a spin-off from What If, Marvel Zombies.
Yeah, that was, you knew that was coming.
Yeah,
So.
and here's I don't know that many people know this, but the original, very first Marvel Zombies miniseries in the comics was created and conceived and written by Robert Kirkman, who is the creator of Walking Dead.
Mr. Walking Dead
Yeah,
himself.
so that kind of makes sense.
Although the realization of Marvel Zombies in What If was different.
Yeah.
Because it's a disease where they're still able to sort of think. It's called the hunger, right? They just want to eat.
Well, yeah, because in the comics they actually talk,
Right.
and have rational thought, but they're just overwhelmed by this disease, and they can't help themselves, and it makes for some comical conversations when they're like pouncing on someone. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry, and I think even Spider-Man is like, I'm really sorry about this, but I just gotta, and then he proceeds to chomp down on somebody. So
I'm really hungry. I will watch that, and of course, What If season 2 is coming.
Yes.
which is cool. What else did they announce? Armor Wars, Ironheart.
Ironheart, I'm looking forward to. I think that's going to be a lot of
fun. X-Men 98 or 78, was that?
Or 97. It's a continuation of the 90s X-Men cartoon done in the animation style of that. I'm like, that's kind of cool, actually.
It is cool. And then Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is interesting considering Disney or Marvel don't actually own the Spider-Man character.
And a Groot series.
A Groot
Baby
series
Groot.
And a Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Yes, that's going to be fun.
Which, who knows what that's going to be, but apparently it's canon. So we'll
yes.
see. Are you going to get all the characters? That'll be interesting. But so yeah, a lot of stuff coming.
Very little Star Wars stuff, though. I was kind of surprised, but
it was it's all Marvel, baby.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. But there'll be more stars.
Well,
we've already got Book of Boba Fett.
They announced
and we've already got
stuff, and
Ahsoka Tano. Coming.
And they announced some Pixar stuff, so it was a Disney Plus day. It wasn't just Marvel,
Disney.
But still, Still, they
But they'll definitely. I think Star Wars Day has its own.
Yeah, I think that's when all the cool Star Wars stuff. I mean, they did show some concept art from Obi-Wan Kenobi, which apparently has got people pretty excited. So,
well, that, and also upset because people are saying, "Oh, the second time that Obi-Wan, the first time that Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight, it's after the climactic thing where on Mustafar is in Star Wars where they're on the Death Star.
Yes.
But now they're talking about how they're going to have another rematch during the Obi-Wan show." And I don't know. There's a lot of backlash against Hayden Christensen too. I think it's like, why is this guy back? Because he's got to be back in the Obi-Wan show, but he's also in Ahsoka Tano as well. Because as some people know, he was Ahsoka's master.
Yes.
Taught
my answer to those folks that are like,
don't watch the show.
Don't watch it then. I mean, problem solved.
I can understand it though. It's like they seem to be going in some ways. People are like, and I can understand it. They're kind of going out of their way to not retcon, but sort of change the original, like how people are still upset about how they treated the original characters.
Wait and see what it is. It may actually just be, maybe it's a hallucination or a dream sequence or something like that. It may not be actual Darth Vader versus Kenobi. So I mean, it's one of those before you like are saying it's the stupidest thing ever and it goes against all that is holy. Watch it first, or don't watch it. I mean, it's like.
Well, it's easier to not watch it and still complain.
Because
that's the easiest
the whole thing, like people like condemning a movie based on a trailer. It's like, well, how do you explain that? I'm like, I don't know. There's probably going to be a 2 hours explanation of it coming up if you just hold tight, right? So there's going to be 6 episodes that are going to explain this like little tidbit that you're like obsessed with. So maybe wait for that, or don't watch it. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I think that people are mostly reacting to the interview with McGregor, where he's talking about, we got this. He's like hinting that there's another fight between him and Darth Vader in the movie, which doesn't necessarily make sense. But I suppose there's definitely a time gap between when we see Obi-Wan and when we finally pick him up again in Star Wars, when Luke is a teenager. Or however old Luke is in his 20s by the time they leave Tatooine to go to whatever, to Mos Eisley and stuff, or to go rescue the princess. So a lot of shit happens, a lot of time happens. But obviously Obi-Wan is living on Tatooine because now they're doing like 3 shows on Tatooine, so they got the cut rate, for the studio.
And it's not like Star Wars hasn't like frequently contradicted itself. I mean, the whole from a certain point of view, it's like, huh?
Yeah, well, that's true.
So.
That's true.
And
all those novels that you thought were canon,
right?
And all that other
right.
stuff.
So I mean, it's like Really? So this one little point, you're gonna like, well, this is gonna be the stupidest thing ever. It's like, great, don't watch it then. So if you don't watch it, then you
I'm
don't
still
have
not.
anything to hate. Life will be great.
I'm still not 100% sold on Boba Fett either. Even though I love Boba Fett as a
Oh, I'm
character,
totally
and I
sold
love
on,
him.
especially that latest trailer. He's like taking over Jabba's uh,
I don't know.
empire.
It
It's
just
oh yeah.
it wasn't in my, at least for me, it wasn't a strong trailer.
You know, uh,
It had some things that I didn't like about it, but I'm
I
still
don't
going to
know what
watch
to
the
do
show,
with you
obviously.
anymore. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding.
if they're gonna, I think maybe in some ways it would have been better just to bring Boba Fett back like they did in Mando and then be done.
Or you could have him show. I think so. I'm gonna watch the show, but I think Boba
Well, me
Fett,
too. Yeah.
the whole popularity of him is because we didn't see him a whole lot, and I think it's the same thing with like Wolverine in the comics. Wolverine as a character in the comic books and X-Men was great because you didn't know anything about him. He wasn't like a primary character, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're gonna do several miniseries that explain his origin in detail, and he's gonna show up in Avengers and like all of the comic books now, and it's like I think he like Boba Fett is a character that works best as a backup character and a
Yeah,
recurring
exactly.
character. I think when you focus on him,
Yeah.
it's like, well, now you take away the interesting parts of it, and that being the mystique of the character, right? So
Right. I think that what people really want to know is people feel like he was badly treated in Return of the Jedi,
yes,
which he was,
yes,
and also that there was a huge build up to this amazing character that was not realized. He just dies in a stupid comical way,
yes,
for a quick joke, and then him coming back in Mando was great. I mean,
yes,
he comes back. He's mysterious. He helps propel the season. Helps the Baby Yoda, Grogu, and that should be enough. You don't necessarily. I mean, he can recur occasionally,
yeah,
like, "Hey, we're
yeah,
going to Tatooine for this thing. We should stop and see Mando,
right.
or stop and see Boba." But I don't know if I needed a Boba Fett show. I'm still going to watch it because of I love Tamir Morrison. I think he's great as Boba Fett, and it's great that he's playing him again,
Yes.
which makes perfect sense. And then with Ming Na Wen also,
And I think that Favreau and Filoni will do a great job, and
they
I think
will.
it'll surprise me, and it'll be better than what I'm expecting. But to me, like you
Right.
said, knowing that hey, he's still alive and he escaped the Sarlacc pit and he's out there somewhere was enough. It's like that's great. It was good to see him.
They still haven't told us how he escapes exactly.
Right.
So that's something I'm interested in. I think that Mando, or I'm sorry, I keep saying Mando, but I think Boba Fett's show, like the first frame of the show, is the Sarlacc pit, and an arm comes out of the
Yes.
thing, and it's like,
Yes.
how the fuck did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit? And you hear this like, blasters and whatever, and he like comes flying out of there or something. I don't know. How did he get out? Right?
Do we
And
get a
you got
flashback though? My question is, do we get a flashback on how he got the dent in his helmet?
Well, he probably got the dent in his helmet while he was escaping from. That was like the mouth of the Sarlacc was crushing his helmet.
I
or
thought that
something,
was
maybe.
there before he went in the Sarlacc pit. Maybe he's
Oh,
like
you're right.
maybe
It
he's
was.
like he has the imperfection that the stormtroopers have, and he bumped into a door, and that's where he got the.
Maybe he didn't realize the beam was there
Yeah.
supporting the because again the Empire is not great at building, so they have no railings and
Right.
the height requirements.
Right.
The sign says headroom blah blah blah, but it was actually less than that.
Yeah.
So he bumped his head. I think it's when he was experimenting with the jetpack. He just ran into something.
Yeah, exactly.
He was
Yes.
he was learning how to use it because he's not a quote unquote real Mandalorian.
That's true.
So
That's true.
so he just was having trouble with the jetpack, and then he crashed into some shit.
Yes.
And so he's just clumsy.
I'm going to
It's
watch
fun.
the show anyway, and I expect it'll
Oh,
probably
fuck yeah.
be better than I'm expecting. But yeah,
You expect?
better than I'm expecting. Expect it to be better, and whatever. But
That's what all I was saying is the trailer didn't do that much for
okay,
me.
yeah, that's fair.
I don't.
That's
I don't. kn- I think it's. I think it's part of what you're saying. It's just Boba Fett is a great sort of second or third tier character, a supporting character. He doesn't necessarily need to be in the limelight. But I also will trust Filoni
Yeah.
and John.
I mean,
Favreau
I'll be
to
honest.
Make it make sense.
I'll be honest. When they first announced an Obi-Wan show, I'm like, why? And now I'm like, I want to see this. So
Well, I like Ewan McGregor, so it's hard for me not to be interested in Obi-Wan. So
I
will watch that too. I guess I'll just watch everything. I'm
I
stupid.
still think it should be just 6 episodes of him sitting around in the desert, like not doing anything, or and like
taking peyote or
and
something.
sand people walk by and he's like, "Sup," You know, that's
He just does that
yeah.
crate dragon sound for like 2
But it's like
episodes.
literally
It's
like
scaring.
nothing going on, just him hanging out in the desert. I think that would be fun. I
Well,
would be amused by
he's
that.
old. Like what do old people do? They wake up early and they go to bed at like 5 o'clock and they have dinner at 4. And
He's playing, was it Sabak or whatever the card game is?
he's playing Sabak.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing 3-dimensional chess or 3D chess with himself. You know, he turns the table around. It's like
Well, he's got
I'm
like
just watching.
he's got like Roxy set up to be different people and stuff like that. And,
Well, there's like various androids. He's like he doesn't remember owning a droid, so he's got like old pieces of droids just sitting there. He's talking to them. He's like a crazy old man
yeah,
living in the
I
desert.
think that would be awesome, and that's how we get they get the legend. Oh, Ben Kenobi's just this crazy old man that lives in the desert. It's like that's the origin of that. That'd be great.
He absolutely is crazy.
Yes.
Well, because what is his job? I mean, he's in theory like the last Jedi, right? So it's like
right.
he's in hiding from the Empire, probably using his own name because that's how you hide from things. And then you just sort of sit there and watch a little boy grow up. That's kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah.
I've been watching you, Luke, for years.
Yeah. Occasionally in the show, they'll show him like outside Luke's room or something, like staring,
like binoculars,
yeah,
like
staring at him. And that's like 15 minutes of the episode. It's just him staring, watching this kid.
Seriously, he'll follow him to Tashi Station when he's like hanging out with his friends, and he'll just like be staring at him, and he'll just he'll be eating candy,
Yes.
the whole thing. What is going to happen? It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, the creeper.
I would totally watch that. It would be funny. It's like,
and the funny thing is, Ewan McGregor could totally pull that off too, like the creepy sort of guy.
Absolutely.
It would be funny. I mean, that's not at all what the show's going to be, of course.
Unfortunately.
Or I don't think Obi-Wan's a pedo, but still. No, there's going to be some, I don't know, there's going to be some thing where the Empire is going to discover where Luke is, and Obi-Wan's got to like go off planet and do a mission or some shit. And
I still think it's dumb that you dump him back with people named Skywalker on the planet that his dad came from.
Well, no, they're not.
I mean,
their name is not Skywalker. Their name is Lars.
Oh, that's true. But he
Owen
keeps
Lars,
his name Skywalker. Why didn't he change his name to Lars?
Well, how did he even know what his name is?
Right. I mean,
Right?
yeah, because Leia changed her name.
Right. Because Senator Organa changed it.
Right. So why wouldn't the Lars go, well, you're going to be Luke Lars? Maybe that's
Luke
because that
Lars.
sounds dumb, but...
Yeah, it does. Well, that's right. That's a big continuity problem in Star Wars in general.
So it's like you can't nitpick about really... once you start pulling on the thread, it's like, well, what about Luke and Leia making out? I mean, come on. So
did they make out or did they just kiss? I mean, I don't think there was
in Empire that was a pretty full mouth tongue.
I don't
make
know.
out.
I don't
know.
Whatever.
So
whatever. But you know what? You had to know at that point while you're making the movie that they were already brother and sister. At least George had to know at that point, right?
Yes.
So it's like, why is this happening? Well, then you don't want to pull on any of these threads because what is Indiana Jones' relationship with Marion? And she's like 15 years old when they get together.
That's what I'm saying. Just go with the story, and you'll be fine.
Why, if you're a witch in a castle and there's only one thing in the world that will destroy you, why do you keep a bucket of it in your fucking castle? It doesn't make any sense.
So just go with the story, or
how does she take a shower? As my son wanted to know, how does she take a shower?
Or if you can't,
she must smell really bad.
If you can't suspend disbelief that much, don't watch it anyway. So.
Right. Well, I mean, the problem with Star Wars is that George never imagines like this is going to be this thing. It's like his little space movie, and it could have been a one-off.
I like
it didn't matter. I didn't have to explain anything because it doesn't matter. No one's going to care. And now everyone cares. Like, oh fuck! Now I have to figure it out.
Except now the problem is they built the legend that he had 12 movies planned out from the beginning, and it's like no, he didn't. He was making it up. But hey, whatever.
Well, I think I would say that he probably had ideas for a lot of stories.
Sure.
The Journal of the Wills, the Skywalker saga, whatever you want to fucking call it, which sort of is hinted at in the novelization by Ellen Dean Foster, in the Star Wars novelization. But it's like, because in the book, Leia is telling the story as if it already happened, right? She's telling the story of what happened. They were I still remember this when I was a kid. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Naturally, they became heroes. That's like the beginning of the book, which I fucking still love. I think that's a great line.
Yes.
I still love that, Alan Dean Foster. Good job.
Yes.
Because I know that was you and not George.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll pay you for that someday.
Maybe.
But
yeah,
maybe. But it's just... a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? So, and I guess you can make the case that since it is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, human memory is flawed, right?
Sure.
So, if at the end of all Star Wars IP, there's someone telling this story to a group of Padawan or something at the Jedi Academy, they're just telling an oral history of the Skywalker family, and they're going to get shit wrong, right?
Yeah, that could
So
be.
that's how they'll fix it. That's the answer. Human history is flawed because we don't really know all of what happened. It's just a myth, man. Thousands of years ago, these fuckers lived. We don't know.
So they'll have a
happened.
tie-up movie, which will be Frank Wills telling this story to a group of Padawan, and be like, and
There you go.
you know, and they're going to be like, well, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. You said this in blah blah blah, and it's like it's just a story. Just go with it. So.
Well,
It's all fiction.
Human history, human memory is flawed.
Yeah,
Human history
exactly.
is flawed. It's like we have cave paintings like that told stuff. We don't really know what happened. How do we know what happened thousands of years ago? And how do they know what happened thousands of years? I mean, there was a war. There was this. Empires fell. Planets exploded. There's not a lot of fucking all people's home. The cloud got destroyed, right? Because the cloud blew up with the rest of the planet. It's just
all narrators are unreliable. No, it needs to be George Wells,
Right.
and it needs to be played by George Lucas at the very end, and he's like 90,
go.
and he's telling the story of the Star
Gather
Wars.
around my young Padawan, and we will tell you the story
tell you-
of the Skywalker family.
I'll tell you the Star Wars story, and yeah,
The War of the Stars, my great, 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 great grandmother, Leia. There you
Wow.
go. That's how you fix
yeah.
it.
See, so other than that,
Genius.
It's,
I'm a fucking genius.
but beyond that, they're just movies, and
well, that's true too. And you don't really need to fix anything.
or just don't watch them. It's very
Or
simple.
well, you can't keep saying that though, because everyone's gonna watch them.
I
And
know.
so here's what I would like. I would like movies to be good and also make sense. at least in their own internal logic. They don't have to make sense in the larger societal context, in historical context, or
But-
anything else. But in their own world they create, that needs to make sense.
But
too.
they've set the
Or
precedent
it
in the
should.
Star Wars movies that what you're seeing and what you're hearing may not necessarily be true. I mean, the whole from a certain point of view thing totally blows that out of the water. So it's like maybe
Well, right.
it isn't what it seems, and just
I
go
don't know
with
why
it.
Obi-Wan couldn't have just said, "Yeah, I lied to protect you. I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah. I didn't really.
I should have told you who your father really was. I lied so you wouldn't seek him out, so I could protect you." But that means that Obi-Wan's a liar, so you can't.
Did you
do
see the meme? There's a meme where it shows Vader and Luke facing off in Return of the Jedi, and Vader says, "Hey Luke, do you like that lightsaber?" And Luke's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, I killed a bunch of kids with it one time." It's like, all right, that's pretty funny.
Nice.
Yeah,
That was horrible.
it is pretty horrible, but it's.
Except that by the time Return of the Jedi comes around, Luke has constructed his own new lightsaber.
Oh, that's true. No, I think. Oh, sorry, it was the Face Off in Empire. So where he still had it because it was the blue lightsaber. So he's like, "Yeah, I
Right.
killed a bunch of kids with that." So.
A bunch of younglings.
Obi didn't tell him that,
No, your father's a murdering sociopath. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's all,
I mean, all he had to say was like, I didn't really want you to know that. Wanted you to have good memories
he's
of your dad and not worry that you're going to turn out to be the same. So I lied. Okay.
well, he has no memories of his dad. Your mom died in childbirth. Your dad is a murdering sociopath. You
Leia
don't wanna be
remembers
anything-
her mom's eyes though for the 2 seconds that she saw her.
Yeah, that's not.
No,
possible.
it's not.
But
See,
I
another
guess-
contradiction. It makes it seem like they were with their mom at least for a little while
Longer,
they were
yeah.
kids, right? So
Well, right, because Padme doesn't die in childbirth till the prequel trilogy.
right,
So.
and I'm pretty sure they had their eyes closed when they were handed off. So
You're pretty sure.
like 2 seconds
Pretty
they
sure.
got to like know their mom was there, and then yeah. So
Well,
see,
I
it's
think
full
it
of
made more.
contradictions. It's okay.
I think it made more sense that Padme would have lived, and then they would have been with her for a tiny bit when they were babies, and then some shit happened.
And she
like
died
maybe Anakin
protecting
even
them
killed-
and sending them off.
Well, that from Anakin maybe,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. So that would have been
Dying
more
of a
drama. But
broken
again,
heart is like, you just had 2 kids, and you're like, yeah, screw them. I'm going to die of a broken heart because
Exactly.
my bow has gone off to be bad.
Yeah, he turns out he broke bad.
Yeah.
But the thing that we have to remember is George originally made Star Wars as a one-off,
Right.
but then he tried to make it more for kids.
Yes.
So
And these are basically
that's
fantasy fairy tales. Come on. Let's be honest.
Right.
They're not.
Fantasy.
They're not hard sci-fi movies. So
No, they're not.
anyway,
It's No Expanse, which comes back in a
yes,
month. Yeah, baby.
yes.
Anyway, all right. So, do you have a pick this week?
I do have a pick, and I kind of looked through.
Let's do it quick.
I may have picked this before in years gone by, but I'm going to pick it again because I just recently rewatched it, and that is the movie Sneakers.
I think I picked that once too recently, but yeah, it's great.
Oh, you did. You know what? I'm gonna not pick Sneakers. I'm gonna pick the TV series version of Lost in Space because that comes back at the beginning of December for its third and final season. Finally.
Do you not listen to this show because you picked that last week?
Did I? Damn. Well, I don't know what to pick.
That's funny. Should I go first?
I'm gonna pick James Bond as my pick.
Oh my God.
No Time to Die.
Way to listen to the show and pay attention.
Well, I can't. There's a lot that goes on during the week. I don't remember stuff.
I know. I'm just joking. But yeah, you picked Lost in Space last week.
Did I? Damn it. Well, can you cut
sure,
that out then? I'll stick with Sneakers. And
I will. No, Sneakers is fine.
I'm going to pick Sneakers as my pick this week because Sneakers is it's one of those movies that I rewatch because I'm like, is this movie as good as I think it is, and does it hold up? And then it's like, as soon as I start it, I'm like, I'm in. I got to watch it. It's kind of like Cartman in South Park when somebody starts Come Sail Away, he's got to finish it, and like, oh, Sneakers has started. I got to finish it because it draws me in like immediately, and it's just a fun, exceptionally well done.
It's really well
movie.
done.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was, but it has. Speaking of Ben Kingsley, right?
Yeah,
Ben Kingsley's in
absolutely.
it. Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier,
River Phoenix,
Dan Aykroyd,
David Stathern,
David Stathern, yeah. Also who featured prominently in Expanse recently too.
Absolutely.
Sadly, his character was killed in that show, but
yeah.
But yeah, he's great. They're all the whole show, the whole movie is really well done. I enjoyed it a lot. Oh, Mary McDonnell, I forgot about her. That's terrible.
Yes.
But yeah, the whole thing is great.
Well acted.
Obviously, the technology doesn't hold up anymore.
No, but
it's just really
for
good.
the time though, that was like cutting edge, and just the character interactions and the chemistry between all of the characters. It's like I totally believe that they're a team, and it's just I don't know. It's really really well executed, well acted, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So
yeah, when Robert Redford, I mean. You can see why in this movie and in pretty much every movie Robert Redford is a huge movie star.
Yes,
because he's great in this movie and he likes these kind of conspiracy type movies. Because one of my favorite Robert Redford films is 3 Days of the Condor, which I also just watched recently. So it kind of carries on that tradition, which was cool. I think that he ended up playing a bad guy in an MCU movie because it kind of goes against all of that, all against type. But yeah, he's great in this movie. Sidney Poitier is great. Why did you leave the CIA? Oh, I can't.
Well, yeah,
they have a good interplay with that. It's really good.
All the characters are flawed, and I like that they from the beginning when they're infiltrating the bank and they go to jump over the desk and Robert Redford biffs it. It's like, okay, so they're not like slick hackers that foresee everything and got it all under control. They're kind of flying by the seat of their pants, which kind of informs the rest of the movie. So I don't know. I think it's great, and it historically it came out like well before we got a flood of hacker movies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I really like it, and it's got a lot of heart, and it's fun to watch. So there you go.
Yeah, it's basically like a lot of these kind of movies. It's a romance, right? It's the idea is to get him and Mary McDonnell back together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's how they want. He's trying to prove himself. He's trying to prove himself a good guy, right? Because he abandoned, technically, I guess you could say, he abandoned his friend.
Yeah, his best friend.
And his friend went to prison, and then he's been trying to live that down ever since, which is why he doesn't abandon anybody now. He sticks with them. They're all a team. We're going to stay here and deliver this thing and whatever. So yeah, it's really good. I don't know if it was super successful.
I don't think it was. There's some great twists in it too. I mean, it's just.
But I would watch a reboot of this or a series.
Oh well, wait a second. The budget was $23 million and did $105 million in the box office, so it did pretty well.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Sneakers was one of the inspirations for one of the series that we were pitching a long time ago. about a group that does this kind of thing, but they kind of do well. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was a similar concept in a way. But I like the fact that one of their jobs is to test security, because that's what white hats do.
Right,
They
right.
test security of systems and whatever. But yeah, it's great. I mean, Dan Aykroyd is good, and Jason Statham. Jason Statham. I don't know how Jason Statham got in this movie. But that's right.
David
man. He's
Strathairn
good.
plays a blind guy and does extremely well with it. And just
Of course, now they'd say, "Why didn't you get a real blind guy for
Right,
that?" Which is, I mean, you
that's
could.
a fair
So
thing, but
It's a fair question. I'm sure you would have. You would at this
Yeah.
point. But anyway, so speaking of picks, my pick is also a movie. My pick features an MCU person, Frank Grillo. My pick is Cop Shop, which I watched recently with Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo and breakout star Alexis Louder. Anyway, the premise is Grillo plays a guy, Teddy, who's on the run from assassins. One of them is Gerard Butler, and decides to get himself locked up to potentially be safe from these assassins. But then Gerard Butler gets himself locked up too in the same prison or the same sheriff's station or police station, and then shit goes down. I also want to call out an actor, Toby Huss, who plays another assassin, Anthony Lamb, in this movie. He does a great job too. As sort of this unhinged, like they have this Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo have this whole conversation about, he's like, you're a psychopath. He's like, no, I'm a professional. You'll know psychopath when you see it. And then when Toby Huss's character shows up, he's like, see, that's the psychopath right there.
nice.
So there's the crazy bugger right there.
Right.
And it's directed by Joe Carnahan, which I like. I love the fact that Carnahan and Frank Grillo have their own like productions, and they're making these sort of cool, like greedy kind of action movies. Which I mean, Carnahan has done some big studio films like The A-Team, which I enjoyed, and I don't know why people hate it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it.
But he doesn't get to do as much mainstream stuff as he probably wants to do. He does a lot of writing, but he doesn't get to direct as much. So. I'm happy they keep getting to make these kind of things. But yeah, Alexis Louder is gonna totally get more stuff. She was in Tomorrow War before this,
right?
The Chris Pratt's sci-fi movie.
Yes.
But it's great, and Gerard Butler I think is really good in this, and Grillo of course is always good. But yeah, it's definitely worth watching. It's got a pretty high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, if that matters to you. So it's not.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
It's 82%. That's a.
I've been meaning to watch it. I
just ripe or whatever.
Just haven't had a chance to, but I think I will this weekend. Now that
it's good, it's really good. I don't know if it's on Netflix now or whatever. I get stuff sent in a secret way, but it probably is available all around. But it's definitely worth watching. I enjoyed it. Cop Shop. See it if you can, and I mean it's definitely something you can watch on a small screen. You don't have to see it in a theater. It's fine for TV, or the TV screen.
Cool.
But it's good. I enjoyed it. So find the Flickcast at Stitcher and Apple Podcasts and Google and now at Amazon Music or whatever it is, Amazon Prime.
Yes.
And then of course Joe and I are on the socials at What Joe Writes. I'm at Chris Yu, and the Flickcast is at the Flickcast. And if you love the show, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/theflickcast, and you can go to Apple Podcasts, preferably, and give us a rating or review. I mean, it takes a few seconds to click a button, so you can just click the star. It's actually not a button; it's a star. So
that's right.
Click a star, click several stars, and rate us,
yes, please,
if you would, and feel free to smash that like button or whatever people do.
Crush that like button. Yes.
Crush it, crush it to death.
Yes.
And enjoy it. Anything else, Joe, for you?
I think that's it.
All right, cool. Then that'll be good. So for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.